So what are the real risks? So I'm not saying that GMOs are all great. I have my concerns too. So each GMO should be a case-by-case basis. There are real issues. If you have religious objections, there is no scientific or logical basis that we can provide to you to say you should accept GMOs, right? It's a religious objection. If you have a personal objection, okay, or if you have a regulatory objection, because the regulatory process is voluntary, it's not mandatory, okay? But if you believe that we're a litigious society and that anybody who puts something bad out there will pay for it, you would think the regulatory process would work. So all of these are not science issues. They're not logic issues. They're not anything you can argue with anybody. They're all philosophical issues. Now there's some perceived issues, and most of these are just completely fabrications. Allergens or health. Sure, somebody could put a bad allergen in there or could put a poison into your food. Why would they do that? Different question, but most of the companies selling GMOs are probably not putting allergens in there. Not good for their bottom line. Increased use of herbicides. We could talk about this for days. It definitely increased the use of Roundup. What did it decrease? Well, some of the more toxic herbicides that were applied before then. Is it pro or con? If you believe in no herbicides, then maybe Roundup Ready's bad, but maybe BT is good. Because now there's no worm sprays being sprayed on corn because most of it has BT. Seed saving. If you have a GM technology in your crop, there's probably a patent or something on it. You're probably not allowed to save the seeds. But if you go back and look, most of those same crops, you were not allowed to save the seeds before they put GM in it. So GM is not the reason you can't save seeds. Loss of effectiveness of resistance or herbicides. I mean, if you cover the entire planet with something that's able to be sprayed with Roundup, then yes, you're going to lose effectiveness to Roundup because everybody sprays Roundup. But if we had had a natural variant that allowed that to happen, that would also occur. Okay? So it's not because it's GM. That's where I'm trying to make a point here, is that these are all issues, but they're not issues because of GM. Corporate control. Okay? The biggest problem we have is that because GMOs have been so expensive to deregulate voluntarily or to make people feel comfortable in using, nobody except for large corporations can control these technologies. So most of the GM events that are made are actually made in small public institutions, and then the companies buy them. Transgenes may have spread to wild crops in Mexico, but unless they provide an advantage, they probably will be eliminated from the gene pool fairly quickly. Okay? So BT may increase in wild varieties of corn in Mexico, maybe, but there's not great evidence of that. There's no evidence that GM cotton has driven farmers to suicide, despite tons of articles on that. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but there's a lot of articles that say, farmers in India are killing themselves because of GM cotton, and there's no basis to that. And then, yeah, poor farmer management.